What's going on, everyone? Welcome to another edition of Vicktory Life Legacy Spotlight. I'm your host, Dwight Vick, owner and founder of Vicktory Life. And today I have a great guest in the building. This guy was a standout athlete for the Hampton High Crabbers, but I knew him as Big Ant. Anthony Wardrett is in the building, man. This guy was my mentor. He was my big bro growing up on Vaughn Avenue, man. And not just for me, but Milo, JJ, we're gonna talk about all that. But Anthony, first off, man, blessings to you. How you doing, man?
Hey man, I'm doing great. Everything is well, man. Doing good, and everything. How about yourself?
I'm good, man. This is an honor for me, man, because as you and I talked about a few weeks ago with your cousin, my longtime brother, Dominique Austin, that linked this back up. I
Yep.
have a list of people. I do keep a list in my house when I started this platform a few years ago with my brand Vicktory Life of people that influenced me and I wanted to interview. And I've interviewed some phenomenal people the last few years, not just even with this, but even when I used to write a column, athletes, teachers, educators, superintendents, cancer survivors, Hall of Fame coaches. But for me, people say, oh, why you do this, that, and whatever, man. I still am very humble enough to remember the people along the way who've inspired me. We're going to talk about your influence on me, but this is your legacy spotlight, not Dwight Vick's.
Okay.
So you are currently working in security at Jones Magnet School with my other brother, another guy you helped raise as far as being a big brother, James,
Oh yeah.
James Jones. But let's talk about it first, man. Let's talk about your childhood before we talk about Hampton High and playing sports. Let's talk about where it all started, man. For those that don't know, seeing you for the first time, talk about where you grew up, man, and how it was growing up back in the day, man, for you.
You know, Growing up, for me, I was the first grandchild. My mom, she had three brothers and two sisters, like six of them. So when I came in, I was the first grand. So I grew up under them. And just getting all of that knowledge of what they were living at that time and different things. So that was fun. It did get a little like odd at times because you always wanted to have that brother, that sister, or another sibling to like play with or whatever the case may be. But that was a lot of time for me to just kind of have a creative imagination,
Mhm.
and that's pretty much what a lot of kids, when I was growing up, that's what we were. We were very good critical thinkers. We had, good imagination. We would create. I mean, this, man. You would wake up in the morning. Okay, you may not even eat breakfast, right? You might just go out in the yard, and some of the local guys would see you in the yard, and everybody get together, and you would just create something. You would create your own world. It didn't have to be sports. It didn't have to be none of that. It could just be you guys say, okay, we're going to play baseball today. We're going to play kickball today. We're going to play whatever today, and that's how it was for me. It wasn't, a lot of kids in the neighborhood at that time, really wasn't. And there was more adults and different things like that. So I grew up under a lot of adults, but the good thing was that I was able to take in good stuff, I was taking in very good stuff, listening to good music. And, it was a sense of pride back then because you knew your place as a child. You knew your place as a child. But being, like the only kid, I never really just kind of got lost in, not knowing what to do and all that little stuff like that. I knew my place as a child. I had a dog at my grandmother's house, big house. So I created my own little world, I did. And when you guys started coming around, I was a little older, but I enjoyed watching y'all grow up and watching what y'all were doing, the same things that I was doing, but y'all had more kids, involved. And, I had a homeboy down the street, who used to take piano lessons right next door to where you live. It was a man named Mr. King. And I don't even know if he was there when your parents moved there. But man, he had a piano lesson, and you don't even hear about stuff like that anymore. You got to go to school to learn the piano, or just somebody just out of the norm is doing it. But he had piano lessons, and one of my homeboys, Wesley Johnson, he played ball at Hampton too. And one day he just come walking down the street, and I looked, and he looked, and I was like, Wes, and he's like, Ant, we already was at school together, but we didn't know we were that close because he stayed down the street off of Green Lawn.
Mm-hmm.
And that started everything. That just kind of started everything. That was my homeboy. We would walk to each other's house back and forth, just like you guys did. You might come over to my grandma's house, and you might go to JJ house. JJ come to your house. That's how it was, and things. So, growing up, then, like I said, I had different options. I had the boys club, which is no longer there.
Yep.
The boys club, right off of Bay Avenue and Kickertan. We would walk from there. I started out at Phoenix Elementary, which is no longer there.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. They got a housing section there now, right off of Catappa, Shell Road. And from Phoenix, they put us over at With Elementary, which is still there, but now it's apartment buildings, right?
Yeah, sure is.
It's apartment buildings now. So when I look at that school and I go down that way, sometimes myself and my wife will walk up Chesapeake Avenue, and I'll tell all the time, I was like, babe, we would ride our bikes down here, and it was undeveloped, and we would just ride our bikes down here, and just it was like I said, we were just creating our own world. I met more kids as we started going to schools and realizing we were very close together. We're very close. In proximity, far as like going up Shell Road. You had at the time it was they call it Harley McAllister or Kappa Cardinals now, but it was different. When I was younger, it was a lot different. I don't even know if it was anything going on at that location when I was a kid, but there were kids that when we walk up the street, you find out, okay, well, they live here, and oh man, I didn't realize y'all lived this close. But you didn't walk out like that. When I was a kid, you only went to where you were supposed to go and you came back. You ain't go too much. You ain't go further. You know what I'm saying? You like, because, if I had walked from my grandmother's house to, let's say, Hampton High, I felt like that was far, because you didn't realize how close it was.
Yeah.
You didn't. And as I'm in my car today and I ride around different places, I'm like, man, like I was really just this close. But as a kid, it just seemed so much bigger,
No doubt.
Yep.
Anthony, I had Sherwood and Stan Jones on the Legacy Spotlight, two Hampton High greats.
Exactly.
And your name came up. Also had Lonnie Mann and Jermaine Golson on here, and many other people.
Uh-huh.
But Jermaine and Sherwood and Stan talked about Shell Road and how that whole long strip, and then you had the streets that went off Greenbrier, and you mentioned Catawba and Bond Avenue. During the 80s and 90s, when you take a step back and you look at the ballers and men and women who came from there, King Street and all the guys, it's utterly amazing. But at that time, we were just young men growing up, being kids and living our life, and riding our bike or running up to Quickies to get 3 smokes and some chips. But talk about I want to mention I had Daz and Dion and Myra Newsom on here.
Exactly.
And Dion Newsom talked about, and he's younger than us. I'm younger than you. He's younger than both of us. And he talked about kids got to start going back outside. We did not have the Dick's Sporting Goods, the Models. We did not have the trainers that these young men and women have now. We were introduced to competition by growing up on Shell Road and going to Park Place and going down the street to King Street. Just talk about what got you into sports. Was it an OG before you? Was there a player you saw on TV? Was it somebody, down there where you guys were playing tackle football? You were like, okay, I can do this. When did that light bulb go off for you? You were like, hey, I want to play ball. I want to play football.
It was different things. Some of the friends that I had come in contact with, they were playing rec league football. Okay, and I wasn't at the time. But we would play, like say around the neighborhood, and I would say, well, you should play, you should play. So at that time you had Mallory, you had Northampton, you had Keaton, I'm probably naming some teams that they no longer exist. I mean, when I actually started playing, I was playing for the boys club, which is right off of Kickertan. We was called the CBC Browns. Right. Mm-hmm. We look just like the Cleveland Browns. This is exactly what we look like. Right. But, for me, it was watching football on TV, watching it definitely on TV. My friends that were playing, and that motivated me because I wanted to be a part of that, excuse me. And then I had an uncle. So at the time he worked at the shipyard, and we talk about it, but I don't know if he know the effect that it had on me. So when he would get off about 3:30, of course, I'm in the street, I'm throwing the ball up to myself. I'm waiting on him. Sure enough, he pull up, he had a little Toyota Celica, 1977, little silver joint. He pull up and he would just get out of the car. And I would throw in the ball, and all he would say was, my nickname, they call me Red. He's like, Red, go, And I was doing probably like 100 go routes, just running down Vaughn, and he just launching it, and I'm catching it, But even when he wasn't doing that, I was in the yard, visualizing being on the field, doing those type of things and stuff like that. And then as I began to play, and then what I would do was I would come home, and for me, this was big. I mean, I would come home and I would grab the newspapers, right? Around that time of August, September. So, football is revving up. Still for me, I was in elementary and looking at those Hampton High highlights in the paper, seeing Coach Smith, the different players that I knew nothing about. They were just larger than life to me at that time, and just getting the newspaper articles and saving them. I was saving newspaper articles, I was taking football cards and, putting them on construction paper and hanging them up like posters, and we would buy posters. So I was just, daydreaming and living that dream of, being one day like that, just being like that. And Hampton High, it kind of represented that to me. It's like, if I could get on that level, I'm doing something, that Red, that Crabber, at that time, that was just, the helmet was different. When you look at everybody else's helmet in the district, they had their own equipment, but we kind of was doing something a little different at that time, in the 80s, doing a little something different, but like I said, that Crabber, it was just different. It was like, that's where I want to be, seeing those newspaper articles and hearing the different guys' names and stuff. You was like, wow. And then, you might see them in a neighborhood or something. You see them and you wanted to speak to them, but you was a little afraid, but they were just like us, they were just like us. But I can honestly say that, just being a kid, just living that dream in the yard. I had a dog, and I would, play with my dog, and I would pretend like my dog was a defender. I'd, be dodging the dog, and the dog was a whole lot faster than me. So that just made it even more competitive to me. But, it was just my uncle just, inspiring me, because he was the one who got me liking the Steelers. I'm a Pittsburgh.
I remember that. Fan. You were a Steelers fan.
I'm a Steelers fan. So he would come home, like I say, man, right after the shipyard. I was waiting on it. Religiously. I don't care if it was raining, and if it was raining, he might have threw one or two passes like, yo, man, we got to go inside. All right, But still, again, I would go in the house and I'm doing something relative to sports. And that's pretty much how it started for me.
It did. And it's crazy, because I joked when me, you, and Dominique were on three-way. I called you, you were our big brother. I called you the Shell Roll Yoda. You know what I mean? Because you used to hit us with just some gems, and you would a lot of times prophesize what was going to happen if we didn't do certain things. Or you would say, hey, listen, while you were cutting hair, you were like, hey, don't forget, you need to do this. I remember you used to tell me to jump rope. Hey, you say, Big Vic, you need to jump rope. You need to have quick feet. You taught us, you were a lot of times the all-time QB. We were out there on Vaughn, we going, around park cars, you're going to run a butt hook, you're going to go a slant. We didn't know what that stuff meant, you know what I'm saying? Then my favorite is you would quiz us. You would quiz us on trivia, on sports trivia. And you'd be like, wrong. You know what I mean? So like me, Adrian Parker, JJ, Pete, Rashad, Dominique, we were like your little brothers, man. And, in a lot of ways, as I mentioned, not so much the street raised us because we had families, but it was great the dynamic we had with you, because even when you were talking about, okay, y'all think y'all can throw hands, you came out there with those boxing gloves. And
Mm-hmm.
we used to box, and you were like, man, your technique wrong. You're gonna get knocked out. And at the same time, man, you were on that same path as you mentioned, being, going to Hampton High and
Mm-hmm.
getting ready to play at that level with some of the greatest teams of all time.
Uh-huh.
Uh, just talk about though, what it was like. You mentioned the Hampton High mystique and the helmets. You didn't all know all the players, but you knew they were great. Talk about what it was when you finally got to Hampton, and just your first time entering those doors, not just as an athlete, but just as a student. Because as we all know, man, football and sports wise, that school even now is legendary, not just in the state but across the nation. But for you, that journey when you got there, what was it like? Take us back then.
I've said to my wife, I've said this to her, you know, as I go through life right now and things that happen to me that a lot of times we confess with our tongues and we don't even realize we're confessing it. When I got to Hampton, I'll be honest with you, I wasn't starstruck. It was like I was meant to be there. This is
Mm.
what I had already saw. You know what I mean? I had already saw this, cutting out those newspaper clippings, and I'll be honest with you, I don't even think I had ever went to a Hampton. I think I had started going to a Hampton High game probably when I got to Lindsay. But all the time during elementary, I never went. I just heard of the guys. I used to see the bus, leaving Darling Stadium, and I never forget one of the probably the greatest scenes for me. Me and my dad were coming from somewhere because we stayed in Old Town Apartments, right? And which is no longer there, right? And there was a Hampton and Bethel game, and I think this had to have been around 82, maybe, or maybe even 81. I'm not sure, but I could see the bus coming down Lincoln Street. And it had the Hampton High players up there. And I'm assuming Hampton had just won, a nice old rival game with Bethel, as it always was. And I think it was Victor Hill. He was hanging out the window and he had a crabber towel, and I used to have a crabber towel. He had a crabber towel. He was waving it out of the window. So me as a kid, seeing that, I was like, wow. And I hadn't been to the game, didn't go to the game. So I was just like, I felt like I was missing something, So when I got out there, seeing Coach Smith, Coach Mitchell, Coach Mann was who I connected with. He, because of his Huntington connection experience. For me, my mom went there, my aunt, my uncle.
My dad went there.
Exactly. Okay. So that connection was there. So, he would always say, Coach Mann didn't call me Wardrett. He would call me Austin, because that's my mother's maiden name. And that's what my uncle's, last name, it was as well, Austin. So he's like, can you hit like Austin? Can you hit like Austin? And I was like, I guess so, right? So, and I was just taking it all in. I really was. I was just being a crabber, just taking it in because I had already saw myself there. I did. I saw myself there. So I wasn't starstruck, but I was like, like you said, keep your head on a swivel. I was always keeping my head on a swivel because I was like, I need to know what to do at all times,
Mm-hmm.
and things. So, going up to the small weight room up on the roof, right? You got about 20, 30 guys in a maybe a 20 by 20, if it was that big, right? No AC, no nothing. And I tell you, man, one of the craziest things that ever, I guess, saw happen. So, man, I'm like ninth grade, or no, might have been eighth. So we go to the weight room and man, everybody, like the young cats, everybody kind of like drifting to the back. You know what I mean? One will get called out.
Yep.
All the varsity cats, Linwood Lumpkins and all of them, they did everything. And so one of the other guys came in and he was, I guess he might've been a junior. He might even been a senior. I don't know. He's a lineman. He's a big guy. That's just how we looked at him. He came in late and man, about the breakdown. So he came in late and they broke down on him in that little weight room, right? Scared us to death, right?
Yo.
We was like, whoa, we was like, man, you know, and it was just like, I don't know about, you know, during your time, and I'm pretty sure it was the same way. We literally, when we came to practice, man, we literally did not know what to expect. So we wanted to be on time. We wanted to do everything right, because we was like, we did not want to get called out during the line, you know, as those captains start coming down the line. And all of a sudden you see 3 or 4 of them coming at you. You like, oh my God, you know, you got to get that wide base. You got to break down, you know. So being at that level, like I said, I didn't get starstruck or anything. I just took it all in. And I was like, this is where I'm supposed to be, because this is what I wanted. This is what I told myself. I said, this is what I want to do. I want to wear that red and white. I want to put that helmet on, you know. And even at that time, even if you didn't play, it wasn't a big deal, because you were representing something that meant something to you. You know, it meant something to you. It meant something to the actually to the community. You know, if people saw you with that on, it was like, hey man, you playing out there with Hampton High? Okay, you out there with Coach Smith? So that was big, you know. So to see, you know, you, Walt, Milo, and the different guys, and then like when you just talked about, you know, Newsom. I mean, Newsom would bring his guys to the barbershop. They were little guys.
Little.
To see, you know, Daz and his brother and them, man, you know, little guys. And then to see Daz doing his thing, you know, out there at Chapel Hill, and to see the other one at Tech, and to see them do their thing on the Hampton High level, you know, it was almost like just reliving things. Always like, wow, this is, you know, we're keeping that family tradition just running through that Hampton High blood is just running through, you know. Yeah. And, you know, I got to even mention, you know, when my son started playing, I sat back and I just kind of looked at it, and it was times, man, it was breathtaking, because I was like, and for him to go out and, you know, he ended up being a starter his sophomore year. You know, this guy had never played football. He was a basketball guy, right? Never had played, you know, and to see him out there, it was like, wow, you know. And I was probably more hyped than he was, right? You know, I never forget one time they were going to play Phoebus. Phoebus had beat him earlier during the year. So they were going to play him again, you know, playoffs. So once again, I get up early in the morning. I go get a newspaper. You know, I'm amped. I'm hyped. I'm hyped. And he's just sitting there as he, you know, he's one of those cats, man. You know, he's just real calm and cool, kind of like I was, you know, just didn't show no emotions. I'm pacing back and forth. Hey, you get your reads. Look, inside shoulder, man. Look, don't let nobody get you caught in the inside shoulder. Keep the arm free. You know what I'm saying? Whatever. So he just looked at, he's like, hey, man, you ain't playing. I said, you right. I ain't playing. I sat down. I sat on down. I was like, you right, man. I ain't playing. I know. And they went out, had a great game. They won, you know, and everything. And even Tyrod, you know, his dad went to school with me. And
Rodney.
Yeah, seeing Tyrod come in as a little kid to those games and to see where he's at now, you just like, wow, you know, like, and that tradition, you know, that tradition, man, you know. So, and even with the other guys that I've come in contact with, you know, like Iverson. I met Iverson at 14, you know, and I'll tell anybody, you know, just looking at him, you would have never thought he had that type of ability. Just looking at it, because he was a little guy.
Yep.
But he had that level of confidence. That's what I will tell you. He had a level of confidence that was out of this world. He would come in that barbershop and he would make you think he could cut hair. It's just the way he talked.
Yeah.
That was just him, you know. But you know, like I said, getting back to, you know, Hampton High, it was awesome, man. It was like, you know, when you look back on it now, you know, and you see these other coaches getting their flowers or getting these accolades, and you say, well, Coach Smith definitely deserves his. You know, because I mean, what we experienced, myself and you, Walt, and everybody, what we experienced a legacy and history just within that, just being out there, you know, just being out there. I don't think the guys that have played, let's say, after us and went on, I don't know if they really take that in like that.
Well, you know, and I will say this: I had Gerard Kroom on. the great
Hmm.
Gerard Kroom, and I was really honored to have him on because I wanted to have him on because you mentioned Tyrod, you got Tyrod and Eric Hunter,
Yes.
and so many great Hampton High quarterbacks and great Peninsula District quarterbacks. But to be fair, man, Gerard Kroom was special.
Oh yeah.
But at that time, it was, Hampton High, people don't realize this, with all the great receivers they've had, Tony Hyman, Ahmad
Yes.
Hawkins, they
Yes.
were a run first team. We were a run first team. But
Hmm.
Duroc was a dual threat. He was smooth with it, had a great arm. And I just think what you're talking about, what you described about experiencing is what we experience. I've said this on many platforms I'm on for the Peninsula District, and even really with Tidewater Sports in the 757, the golden era was the 80s, mid 80s to the early 2000s. And I'm
Okay.
not I'm not knocking the guys afterwards or
No.
before. I'm just talking about as far as sold out stadiums, how everybody, it was tougher to get into the playoffs. At Kickingham, you had Dwight Hollier, who's been on here, aka
Oh
Psycho,
yeah.
the
Oh yeah.
the
Dwight.
Kickingham teams, Phoebus, Denby. You only had a couple of nights you could take a night off, and really then, even with Lafayette, if you played around, they'd beat you.
That's right.
So, at the same time, what the kids don't get now, they work hard. They want to be great, but at the same time, I think that was the golden era.
Hmm.
When I saw you guys with a state jacket, I used to watch you wear that state jacket, that state championship jacket, and I mean, to me, that was like I've been in the Baltimore Ravens mini camp. I have been all conference at Virginia Tech. I've been recognized and I've been blessed. But to
Exactly.
this to
Yes.
this day, to this day, I got a bowl ring on right now. This is the Sugar Bowl ring. I would give it up to win a state championship. I would give it up to wear and have a state championship. Um, Speaking of Gerard Kroom, he mentioned you on his legacy spotlight. He listed you and a lot of guys, Leslie Bailey,
Hmm.
a lot of guys. Leslie Bailey, I followed his lead when I signed with Virginia Tech. I was the first guy from Hampton High to sign with Virginia Tech in '94. The last one was Leslie Bailey, but Gerard mentioned you and so many great
Okay.
players, man.
Hmm.
Anthony, tell everybody watching this right now, man, what position did you play? And also talk about some of your teammates, man, because you guys had
Oh
some
yeah.
household names,
Yeah. We did.
because
Yeah.
we know
I
On Shell Road, you were the all-time QB. But at Hampton High, what position did you play, man? Just talk about some of your teammates.
Yeah. At Hampton, I played corner, cornerback. But what was so, amazing about that was just because you played corner, you were actually a running back, a receiver, wherever they needed you to be. You know what I'm saying? And like I said, that's what was so amazing about during those times is that even at corner, if the coach said, Wardrett, we need you at linebacker, we need you at tight end, or we need you at left guard, I would have done it,
Mhm.
because you're just there. You're in a moment. You're like, hey, I don't care. I just want to play. But playing, with Craig Overton, Anthony Billups, Mike Alexander, um, you know, I still stay in contact with Mike Alexander today. We see each other probably once a week, you know, and we talk, a lot about sports and different things like that. I'll run into Craig, every now and then. Anthony Billups is out in Texas. I did run into him at a game one time. Good, talking with him. Corey Cofield, who definitely, man, if you get a chance to get him up here, please. I don't even know if you know the magnitude of where he's at right now. He was just on NFL Fox in a band playing the bass. And his
No,
name
didn't
is
know that. I didn't
yeah,
know
his
that.
name is the bass man. And man, I mean, and Corey is he's a crabber through and through, man. And to see, like I say, to see what you're doing, to see guys that are doing things like D-Rock and Mike Alexander, see all the guys that we've been connected with that are doing things, man, it just makes me just really proud, because I'm like, wow, like, just to see these guys doing things, man, it's just great, man. But when I look back at the pictures, of during that time, I look at the equipment, I look at everything, man. I just take it all in. The different coaches that were out there, man, and Coach Breyer. You got basketball coaches that was coaching football. you
Coach
know,
Brower.
Coach Brown, Coach Washington, and Coach Washington had a lot of brothers, and they were in principals, and they were in the AP administration. And, it was just, it was a family out there. It was a family of just different people, man. Like I said, you had, Coach Mann, Coach Mitchell, Coach baseball, Mann, Coach tennis, and Coach Mann, and they were trying to recruit you in different ways. Wardrett, you could probably play a little tennis, or Coach Mitchell would tell you, we need you, Dwight, we need you at back catcher. I mean, you be a good back catcher, and they just made you believe, hey, look, you could do anything. But being out there with those players, man, and stuff like that. D-Rock played basketball. Mike Bullock, he played, basketball, and he was the actual quarterback, before D-Rock. And like I say, when D-Rock left Hampton, I was at Virginia State. He was at Hampton University. And it was just so funny, man, that watching D-Rock, just evolve, at HU, it was like, and we joke today. We always joke today, right? Because about the infamous sprints at the end of practice, right? The infamous sprints, right? So we would always joke to Rock and say, yo, man, you was with the slow group, right? You was running with the linemen. No, what, I ain't run with the linemen, man. I was the fast group. So we always call it the fast group, and things. But to see Rock evolve, at HU, and I mean, one of the smoothest guys to run an option,
So smooth.
So smooth. Right? So he jokes with me today. They came up to Petersburg to play Virginia State, and I think they beat us. And this guy didn't even go back with the team. He did an Urban Meyer. He didn't go back with the team. He stayed with us, right? He stayed with us in the dorm and joking with the guys, and I'm we just having a great time that night, man, and. We joking on each other, and I told the guys, I said, "Oh man, I said HU quarterback right down here in my room, man." He's like, "Man, Wardrett, don't say that, man, don't say that." But we talk about a lot of things. The guys that we still stay in contact with, we talk about a lot of different things, man. And I can honestly say that during that time, I don't just think about the football time. I think about the experience of being at Hampton High, the people I came in contact with, the teachers, everything I learned. And all of that went together. I mean, Friday night, putting on the jersey, the old Darling Stadium, I'll never forget it. I'll never forget it, man. I mean, I never forget, we had lost to Kickintown, I think, the year before. I think it was my 9th grade year. So my junior year, my 10th grade year, we had lost to them. And they had a quarterback named Doxy Jordan. I'll never forget. Guy was smooth. And I'll be honest with you. And I know you've experienced this. That week of practice was unlike any other week. I mean, Coach Smith shut everything down. He was like, okay, we got Kickintown this week. Oh, what happened last year? It ain't gonna happen this year. And I'm gonna tell you, it was so funny, man, that how when we used to walk out under the goalposts, right?
Yep,
we walk out the goalposts, nice and quiet.
Quiet, don't start.
Came on out. Here's what we did. Now, this was the old Darling Stadium. We didn't come out the normal, goalpost this time. We went behind Darling Stadium by the concession stand, through the crowd and everything. So, we thought we was, the joint that day, right? We come through the crowd, and everybody didn't expect that. Nobody expected that. And I never forget, we had on all white, and we went out there, and of course, we won the game and everything. But just the whole week of practice, the build up for that game, and just the intensity that the coaches brought to us and made us focus, and things like that. But man, I got a lot of stories, man. I could actually tell you, about, I mean, even jogging from, we would jog to Hampton, from Hampton to Lindsay, because we had no lights. We would leave Hampton High during playoffs times. We would jog to Lindsay because Lindsay had the lights out there. Because Hampton didn't have lights.
Yeah, the Hampton didn't have lights. I'm just talking about jogging.
Oh yeah, we did. Look, even that was monumental because people driving down the road and we jogging. We got on our equipment. You couldn't tell us we want nothing. You couldn't tell us. I mean, that's just, having that Crabber stuff on, man, it meant a lot, to us. You know what I'm saying? We took pride in that, and and stuff like that. So
how many state championships did you guys win when you were there?
we won two. We won my junior year, my senior year. My junior year we beat TC Williams, who the year before we had lost to, right? Yep. Monumental team there, The next year we beat Salem my senior year. Mm-hmm. Then of course, after we left, we faced TC Williams again, which I had already graduated, but to see Eric Hunter and them play them, it was just a battle. It was a battle, man. But that's what when, and I never forget when we beat TC Williams, we were up in Fairfax, and we all say this till today. All the players say this till today that
I think I know what you're about to say. Go ahead.
They were probably the only team that really mirrored us.
That's exactly what I knew you were going to say. Sherwood Jones said it. Durant Kroon said it. Mm-hmm. Other guys I talked to outside of this platform on the Vicktory Life Legacy Spotlight said it. Everybody said when they met TC Williams, the only difference is they had blue, red, and white. And yet we were red, white, and black. It was almost like looking in the mirror. Their mentality, the way they played, their swag. And, for a time, I'm in Northern Virginia, and they're TC Williams guys I run into, man. Even people that played at different schools in Northern Virginia that talk about, they reference the Hampton High TC Williams rivalry in the 80s as the premier rivalry, which is crazy because it was in the state championship game.
Yeah,
usually a rivalry is regionals, districts. Yeah. You're talking about a state championship game. And that was a special time for me. You talk about you played in it. That's why I said I'm jealous. You won two. For me, every year, my ninth grade year, we lost to Garfield. We were 12. We lost 13-12. I was a backup player. We lost and you get in the fighting after the game. First ever state championship game in Darling Stadium. Then the following year in 10th grade, we lost in the regional final, the first Colonial. They had a great squad. They had the kid, Brandon Noble, who went on to Penn State and played in the NFL. My junior year, we were loaded. Number one in the state, 9-0, number 8 in the nation. Lost to your boy, Chuck, a.k.a. Allen Iverson.
Yeah, that's right.
They had to beat us to get in the playoffs. They went on to win state. And then my senior year, we lost to Norcom, and they went on to win state. So people don't realize, casual fans, what you guys did to win those state championship games. Because honestly, you guys put so much work in, Anthony. I don't think people realize that it looked easy, but it was hard work that made it look easy. Because the teams you guys beat, the Salem team, I watched that game. TC Williams, and even to get outside of the Peninsula District, because this is back in the day when if you were 8-2, you probably weren't even going to the playoffs.
No,
so that was a special time indeed, because it was a sense of community. The community, the city got behind you. And on top of it, you guys made it look so fun and special, but you guys were committed to the process. Talk about, though, let's back up a little bit. We talked about the state championships just now. I asked you, but just talk about, when I had Dwight Hollier on, different people. I love hearing about games. You talk about the Peninsula District, or maybe even going across the water. Are there games that come to mind? You mentioned the Kickintan, the payback game, but or Bethel, or was there a regional game? Are there games you were like, hey Vic, man, when we played them, it was so physical. This was so fun. Or they had this guy. What games come to mind? That Friday night nostalgia that we talk about as high school players.
Man. Well, I can take you back, man. One year we had to play Bethel twice. One year we had to play them twice. And because we didn't have an out of district game, and they had a running back named Rodney Howard, jittery, fast, short guy. And they gave it to us the first game. And I think he hit us for about a good 100, maybe close to 200 on the ground, which didn't set right with Coach Mann. It didn't set right with him at all, right? And I'm gonna tell you the build up to the next game. D, I was in Coach Mann's art class, and so was Linwood Lumpkins. And so someone had cut out the article when, Rodney Howard ran for those yards on us, and somehow they snuck in the classroom and taped it on his art desk. He was livid. You already know, right? He was livid, right?
I already know.
He was livid.
I'm sure.
So the build up to the next game, and I'll tell you what happened, man. I mean, and when you do things, you kind of go with the moment because you got to go with it because that's just what it is. So I think what happened was the first game. I tell you what, I take it back. The first game, I tell you what happened, which made it just more intense. The first game that we lost, okay, what happened was we came out in all red, right? Warmed up and all that. Went back into the little locker room that they had, a little slanted, slanted little ceiling. And we come back out. We had on black jerseys and red pants. Mm-hmm. So Todd Kelly talks about, hey, man, that was like, he was like, yo, man, when we saw that, we was like, yo. However, they beat us, right? So Coach Smith vowed, you'll never wear those black jerseys again, right? Right? So the next game, we actually beat them. We actually beat them and everything because that was the second game. And I can remember, I do remember that Kickintan, they were weighing heavy on that game because they needed us to lose that game so they could get in, right? Mm-hmm. And during the course of the game, as the clock is ticking down, right? And we want to win. You can see all the Kickintan players walking out of Darling Stadium. They were hot. They were hot because they knew the season was over. And it's a lot different now because teams get that, opportunity to actually go and play. But during that time, you could have a good team that wouldn't go. That couldn't go to playoffs. Yeah. Yeah. And Kickintan had good teams back then. They had good teams. But, hey, if Bethel was right behind us or we were right behind Bethel, you were fighting. You were fighting and different things like that. But, there was a lot of games, man, that, I could take so much from, man. We could probably be here until New Year's talking about different games. And I'll tell you, even watching now in my school where I work at, right? Channel 47 is there. They're based inside of my school.
Oh, I didn't know that.
They're based inside.
I didn't even know that. Okay.
So every day I'm walking down there as I'm walking through the school.
My guy Woo. My guy Woo, right?
Yes.
Woo. Yeah. Okay.
Yes, I just talk with him. I speak with him all the time and everything. So they have monitors up out in the hallway, and I'm forever stopping. I'm looking, and the Garfield game was on. Right now, I'm gonna tell you something. It hurt me that you guys didn't win. And I wasn't even there. And it was hurting me because I'm looking at family out there. I'm looking at you, Walt, Milo, all those guys. I'm looking at all your Mario. I'm like, yo, I'm wanting that for y'all. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, yo, I want that for them. And when everything went like it did, I was disappointed, and things like that. I know you guys were too. But seeing those games that I wasn't even involved in, after me or even before me, they really didn't film, they didn't really start filming until like 1986.
Yeah, 86, 87.
Yeah. So to see these games after, when I see the Ron Currys and I still have a passion even when I watch them. And it's like I'm out there with them and I'm not, you know what I'm saying? But during my time, man, I could go through different teams and name players. Ferguson, the Solomon brothers who are my cousins, Dwayne and Joe. You take a guy, they were so talented, man. I mean, Dwayne would be a running back, and then the next play he might be a quarterback, and then Joe would be a running back. They were just that versatile, Then Bethel, I never forget Bethel, man. My all-time experience for Bethel. You hear all the great stories and different things like that. So I'm playing under a Hall of Fame icon coach, right? But then there's one across the field, right? I don't know about your first experience with Kozlowski. My first experience, he had on that plaid sports jacket, right? And it is cold as I don't know what outside. And I'm like, how is he not cold? He got on a plaid blazer and he's got this raspy voice and that's all you hear.
Yep.
That's all you hear. You looking over there, you like, yo, who is that? And he got this paper balled up in his hand. He walking up and down the sideline. And you don't realize, Kozlowski and Smith, it's like a chess game. They're going back and forth.
Listen, Ant, when I was at Hampton, he just was straight button down white dress
Yes.
shirt and a tie, and it would
And
be
the coaching
freezing.
pants. And the
But you
coaching
mentioned,
pants.
but listen, you mentioned something, man. His staff at that time when I was in high school was Incominas, the
Yes.
brothers. Also, The Rock was on that staff. The
And I'm
Rock
talking,
Boom was on that staff.
yeah, and I'm
But but but
talking,
but the golden era, I just let you finish just to
no, you
reinforce your
fine.
point. That's what made it great because you had Kozlowski at Bethel, Bill D at Phoebus, Kurt Newsom at Kickertan, of course, Mike Smith and the late great Coach Mitchell, Coach Man. And when I was
Yes.
playing, it was Woodrow, Gumpton, and Gilliam. And then you in Denby, you had some coaches. I forgot my guy's name, Katufas, or I can't remember. And then you
Hmm.
had Coach Reeman at Ferguson, who
Yep.
then went to Warwick. You talking about some Hall of Fame coaches.
Yeah.
Um, so that Bethel game, you said you were looking over there, you saw Kozlowski kid's
Yeah. And,
voice.
and they had the Britt brothers. I don't know if you know about John and Terrell.
I've
You
heard of
know,
them.
yeah, they had them and I mean, they had the basic uniforms, but it was just iconic. It was just iconic, man. You just like, wow. Like, even as crabbers, we're still picking out players that, or things that we were in awe of. You know what I'm saying? We
Hmm.
were definitely in awe of as well. And I joke with a lot of the kids in my middle school today. I joke with them a lot, because some of them they may go to Phoebus and different things like that. And Phoebus has been on a great run.
Great
They've
run.
done some great things over there. And it's funny how when you talk to kids, it's almost like how sampling music is today. When they hear something original, they're like, what? So when I tell those kids, hey, we used to schedule Phoebus for homecoming. Y'all do know that, right? They was like, what do you mean? I was like, we schedule for homecoming. You know what when you schedule a team for homecoming, you know what kind of team it is, right? It's like, oh wow. I was like, but see, that was back in the day,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
they still had that, they had a legacy, man. I never forget, playing them one time, man. And like I said, they had on the blue and yellow unis with the white helmets. They had white helmets at that time. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, wow, so when I look back at those days, man, how far we've come along, how far the PD has come along and uniforms and colors and coaches and players. And we're seeing some players that are coming back, that are giving back to, the Peninsula District, which is great. I got a chance to talk with Chubb Massenberg over the summer. And I told him, I say, man, you know what I'm here to tell you, right? I'm like, look, you ready for it. I say, it's on your face. I say, you ready for that opportunity, to give it right back to where you started. I say, and I would love for you to do it. I said, I would love for you to be there. So we talked a little bit about it and different things like that. And see him at Heritage when he was coaching, it was just, an honor to just watch that guy coach and give back, and then play against his old team. I'm like, yo, I know it's a lot of emotions going on, with you
Be.
and
Had
different
to
things.
be.
Yeah,
Had to
yeah.
be.
So
Shout out to Massenberg. That's my guy,
yeah,
man.
man. So, like I said, when I look back, during those times, man, like when I look at those old films, like even when Sherwood and them were playing after we had left, I'm looking at the old Darling Stadium and the camera catches the old parking lot, the poles that were actually right there. It's like, I'm like, wow. I'm just looking, I'm like, man, look at this stadium. I'm like, it was just classic,
Yeah,
just
man.
classic,
I'm telling
you
you.
know, just looking at the band and what we were wearing during those days in the 80s and stuff, man. And you just look back at that stuff and you say, wow, it went fast. It went
Hmm.
really fast. And like I said, when I saw you guys out there, it just started playing back in my mind. Like, wow, look at these dudes, man. I remember these
What?
dudes.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, look, let me interject. I remember, I think I told you this, and maybe I didn't. I'm pretty sure I did. Um, when I was coming up, and it was almost that time, summer after my eighth grade middle school year. I went to Eaton Middle School. I was one of the few guys on Vaughn Shell Road that went to Eaton.
Okay, okay.
And y'all, they used to joke me about that. But at the same time, man, you said you swung through, and you said, "Hey, yo, Big Vic, man, get ready. Coach Man, I'm gonna see you. They're gonna put you on varsity." And see, people don't realize is basketball is my favorite sport, and I used to play
Mhm.
for a few Boo Williams teams. Back
Exactly.
then, Just before I put on weight, I was always big, broad shoulder, but I was thinner. And I
Exactly.
used
I
to
remember.
love the hoop. I used to love the hoop. And I remember walking in, and this is the summer. I just went in, you go get your physical and and the eighth graders report. And Coach Mitchell and them saw me. And they saw me, him and Man, and them, they said, where you think you're going? I said, yeah, I'm going down here to this open gym, Coach Bright. And you could do that back then. They
Yeah.
grabbed my arm. They said, go down there to the weight room, sign in. And I didn't even know how to lift weights. And then I just went in there and then I just started lifting. And they said, hey, they gave me some shorts and stuff. They said, next week, be here, make sure your physical's done. And then we had to be there at 5 in the morning for 2 days.
Yeah.
That's when practice felt like they were all day. But
That's
you
right.
you told me about that, and you told me they were going to do it, man. And I didn't have the same bravado as you, man. I saw, Mario and Lloyd Tucker and Tyrone Towns and Alonzo Cherry and
Yes.
Reggie Pittman and all those guys. To me, those were not just my big brothers. They eventually became my teammates, but to me, they were some of the greatest athletes I've ever seen. I mean,
Yeah, man.
Mario was a 6'4", 6'5" wide receiver,
Yes.
and he also
Yes.
could hoop and run like a deer.
That's
You
right.
you know, even back then and now, that's still elite.
That's right.
But I want to do a game with you. I didn't prep you for this. This is going to be easy for
Okay.
you because you are a
All right.
historian. You got great insight. I did this with Derek Kroom. It's the
Okay.
name game. Other platforms do this, man. I'm going to name a quarterback. I
Okay.
don't do the linemen and D linemen or whatever because
Okay.
quarterback is always the debated position, especially in the PD and the 757. But we're going to stick with the
Okay.
PD. I'm going to name him. You just tell me about him. I don't need to know
Okay.
who you think is the best. I'm just say his name
Yeah.
and
Give
you
give
tell
give
me.
you
Okay.
the okay, I got you.
First quarterback I'm going to do. Um, I'm going to go Mike Vick.
I'll be honest with you.
And I'm just talking high school. We don't need to go pro. This
Oh
is
yeah,
just
I got
just
you. I
high
got
school.
you.
Yep.
I got
Yep.
my I got my Mike Vick story. I do. I got it.
Mm-hmm.
So I heard a lot about the kid. Of course, Ron was dominating the headlines. So they were playing at Todd Stadium. And so as I'm coming in, Vic and them are warming up in the end zone. And I tell the story a lot. So I'm hearing this noise, right? I'm hearing this noise. And as I get closer, it gets louder. So I stop right there at the gate, right behind the goalpost as they're warming up. And as this guy, he's doing the cadence, he's low. When he drops back, I'm a lefty, he's a lefty. When he released the ball, I could hear it. And I was like, I was just starstruck then because I was like, wait a minute. And I watched him a few more times. He's throwing it. And you can hear that flick. And people don't understand when you say, well, what does that mean? I was probably a good 30, maybe 20 yards from him. And to be able to hear that, that's that velocity he's putting on that spin.
Mm-hmm.
He's just letting it go, right? And in the course of that game, I tell people, they laugh all the time. I say, he wasn't throwing to the receivers. He was throwing the ball at them. And it was just bouncing off their chest, you know what I'm saying? And I was like, wow. I was like, this guy, and to see him on the next level and to let it go like that, you saw that in high school.
Mm-hmm. All right. Next one, Marcus Higgins.
I call that guy he was the Kyler Murray before Kyler Murray. He was.
That's a great comparison.
He was, man. I mean, he proved, whether there were any doubters, he proved them wrong because of his size. To go to
Mm-hmm.
UVA and not actually be a quarterback and then to be one, and to be on that level, and then in high school to come behind Ron, to fill in those shoes, and he did his thing, but he was just all around. I mean, he could play anywhere on the field. He could. And just to see him as a little kid coming in the barbershop, a little kid, he had those big hands, just a total athlete, man.
And he's also a guy you kind of forget about. And then you remember, you said, "Oh man, he was special." And his dad was a city of Hampton,
Yes.
Peninsula District, great man, great coach.
Yes.
Coached me in AAU basketball, and also Marcus is also part of that Newsom family.
Yes,
Where,
of course.
James Wilson and those guys.
James Wilson, my man.
Yeah. Okay. Aaron Brooks.
Aaron Brooks, seeing him at Ferguson, you know, you didn't, you know, the one thing, I don't think he got enough credit.
Nope.
You know, I don't think he got enough credit because I think also he played basketball as well, you know. So to watch him out there, I didn't get to watch him as much as, let's say, as I should have, because, you know, when you're in Hampton, you're watching all of the Hampton teams, and you're in Newport News, you know, it's a difference, you know. But like I said, I did see him at a Kickertan. It was Ferguson and Kickertan played each other, and actually, you know, it's funny, and I tell this to everybody that asks me about different things. Whenever you see a person that's good at what they do, whenever you do get a chance to see them, they always display or show you why they are who they are. Okay. Yeah. And he did, you know, during that game, you could just see the talent that he had. All he had to do is just be in the right system and in the right program to do things. And he showed it, you know, as he went on, he showed it, man. But you could see it in that one game, that Kickertan and Ferguson game. He was just lightening up the field, man.
Brooks to this day, man. I told Mike, my cousin, I said I felt like Aaron Brooks was blackballed after he said some things in the NFL about he was frustrated about the situation with New Orleans and how they had to play a home game on the road, and he called out the NFL commissioner and things like that. And after that, he didn't get his chance, and I feel like his career was cut short. But he done some great job working in the community. He just was a phenomenal talent. I played against him with the same year at Ferguson. We would beat them, but I mean, they were ran the run and shoot or a spread offense before it became fashionable. And he was a 6'4" long quarterback.
Yes.
And I played against him also in college. He beat me twice, my junior and senior year. One year, my junior, we were ranked 20th or 21st in the nation. And he threw 389 yards against us. Lit us up. Yeah. Okay. Got a few more for you. Okay.
Yeah. Take your time. I love it.
Allen Iverson, a.k.a. Chuck, who you know very well, because you guys used to have some debates, used to cut his hair. Everybody in the barbershop, because you were the only one that went back at Chuck. You would like, nah, you would go at Chuck. And it wasn't like Chuck would disrespect you.
No.
Y'all would go at it.
Yeah, it was all love.
Me and AP, Adrian Park, we would just sit there and look, man. You know, but on as far as playing, let's talk about Chuck, you know.
You know, as far as watching him out there, man, I tell you, like I said, you know, I tell any kid that I meet today, I said he had the most, you know, the most confidence and belief in himself. And it showed out there playing. I mean, that guy I watched him play a game against Phoebus. Phoebus had a kid named TJ Carrington.
Yes, they did. Yes, they did.
If they didn't have TJ, they probably would have lost that game, because TJ was I guess he told Carrington, look, wherever that number 10 go, you go. I don't care if he don't have the ball, still hit him. But I seen Chuck, I seen him return a kickoff, return a punt, return an interception, you know, and then you get at quarterback and you can have an effect as a quarterback. But I went to the Norcom game and I'm sitting in the crowd and the people just talking junk. Oh man, what's a Bubba Chuck? What's a Bubba Chuck? What is that? And man, when they kicked that ball off, you saw a crowd join right at the 50-yard line. And when you looked up again, he running down the sideline holding that ball up. I said, gosh almighty. I said, and you think about it now, he was classic too. He was classic, you know.
He had a feel for the moment.
Yeah, he had those. He had the black cleats with the white tape on them.
The spat.
Only player out there doing that, you know. And to be the size that he was, you took for granted what he could do if you were an opponent. Some of the opponents probably didn't think he was as good as he was, you know. I mean, had a good zip on his pass, but you know, to have an effect on the offside or offensive side of the ball and then go on the defensive side of the ball and still have the same effect, and then he could beat you in special teams, you know, you can't say enough about him, man. I mean, he showed it time and time on the biggest stages. He showed it. you know, and
No,
he said he
yeah.
did what he said he was going to do.
He did. He did it. He did it. And those Norcom fans, I was at that game because they eliminated us the year before. I mean, the game before. They
I was
beat
at that
us,
game.
and we should have won it. We lost on the 1 yard line.
You did. You did.
You know, Shelley got the ball. You know, some of us
Yes.
still say Myron Newsom should have got
Yes.
it. No disrespect to my brother Shelley, but they
Oh,
were
no.
cocky because we had both dropped down to Division 5. So they
Mhm.
beat us. They thought they were going to win it, and I remember laughing. I remember when I saw them kicking off the Chuck, he was going to take it to the house, and he did.
Yes.
He did one move because Ricks had just scored. Ricks for Norcom had just scored, and
Exactly.
he went on to Hampton University. God bless him. He just passed away a few weeks ago.
Oh, wow. I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah. And then Chuck got the ball, man, and he was gone. He took over that game, man, and he
And you know, the year before, Norcom had beat Bethel.
in the Peninsula, over in Darling.
Bethel was undefeated. Yeah, man.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So you
Well,
knew
you
that
know,
was a
man,
bitter taste.
I talked to Chuck when he was on house arrest, right before he went to Georgetown, when he was working towards his GED.
Mhm.
And me and AP and Milo over there off of Victoria Boulevard. Milo was dating a girl that lived across the street. And me and AP went over there and we were talking to him because AP used to give Chuck rides home from your shop, your barber
Yeah.
shop.
Yes.
And he said, "Hey, Big Vic, man, you know what's crazy? True story." He said, "A lot of times I had to be that way to inspire my teammates." He said, especially against games against teams like Hampton,
Mhm.
because you know they did not have the same confidence. He said y'all had a mystique, so I had to inflate my ego and chirp a little bit just so people would know they're human.
That's right.
He was very, very intelligent when it came to having a feel for the moment, and just he was ahead of his time. I've always said that, man.
Oh, yeah.
This is okay. I got a couple more. I can do this all day. I got a couple
Yeah, I
more.
love it, man. Keep it going.
Okay. All right. Of course, I got to get you Ronald Curry.
You know, I gotta say I'm very proud that he wore that red and white. I gotta say that, you know, because I never forget a buddy of mine. We were talking one day, and he asked me. He said, "Who you got?" He said, "You got Chuck or you got Ron?" I said, "Don't get me wrong." I said, I think they're two different type of players, but they have the same effect. You know, offense, defense, special teams, they can do it all. He said, "Well, I'll tell you something." He said, "I was working for, Gloucester at the time." He said, "I was a film guy." He said, "We knew exactly what Coach Smith was going to do, what he was going to call, what formation, what Ron was going to do." He said, "We knew it." He said, "I knew from," he said, "Hell, when they come out of the locker room, I knew what they was going to do." Right? He said, "The play came." He said, "I was in the booth. I told him, hey, look, this is what they're about to do. This is what we got to do." He said, "We knew that." He said, "But then Ron still went down the sideline for 80 yards. So, when I look back at Ron's career, I tell you one play that did it for me. Just one play. I mean, he's had millions, but they were playing Bethel. And I'll never forget, he did the no. He ran on one side of the field and threw it the opposite way.
No.
But it was very accurate. Very, very accurate. And I was like, he didn't struggle doing it. He didn't struggle doing it. And I was like, wow. And just to see him during those years, it's almost like, when Jordan retired and different things, you forget about how good they really were. You forget about how good they really were, and you forget about some of those moments and those games they had. You're like, wow. When you look back at it, you say, man, I was at that game, and how did I miss that? How did I miss that? So when I saw that, just to, and I'll tell you another quarterback, because you may not bring him up, but I'll bring him up. It was a moment for me. Aaron Sparrow. Listen, man, to another lefty. They came to Darling to play Phoebus. And the whole time I'm just watching this guy's release. I'm just watching how the ball seemed like it was in the lights. That's just how, how he was throwing that ball. And I was like, I mean, smooth guy. You didn't really put much on lefties back then, because you didn't see him that much. Everybody was a right-hander,
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, another guy like that. But Ron just, Ron just did it in a way. He had that swag, like nothing bothered him. Like he was never
panicking.
Yeah, I mean, they could have been down 50-0. He's like, oh, we'll win.
Yeah.
That's how he had that attitude,
Quiet confidence. First of all, for the record, Aaron Sparrow, for the record, I got about, you can't see my list. I got tons of names. We're not gonna get to them all because there's a couple more questions I want to do before we wrap up your legacy spotlight. Aaron Sparrow, for the record, was one of the GOATs. It's just, again, social media was not around that time. He was across the water and he led Wilson. Yeah. Wilson was special with him, but the older people get, we forget to mention some of these guys, man, because I could talk about Tory Edge and a lot of guys, that we can mention. Taj Boyd, I could mention, but also for the record with Ronald Curry, I knew he was special because when I was a senior, he was in 8th grade. I was hearing about him, and then when I graduated, they went 10-0, and they had Carlos Ford, who had 29 touchdowns. They had Noel Rainey, who caught the game winner. Hampton beat Phoebus 22-21, and when Antoine Womack was the best running back in the state. Yes, and it was a battle. And Ronald threw the game winner to Noel. They went for 2.
I remember. I was at the game.
But here's the deal. I come back. I go by the school. Coach Smith comes to me now. He, walking around the school like he run everything.
Of course.
And he said, "What are you doing around here?" And he was talking, man. And I said, "Coach, man, you got you a special one with Ronald," which is a lot because in his 50 years of coaching, from day one, Hampton High has had some great ones. Somebody asked me the other day, man, why doesn't Hampton High have a Hall of Fame, a sports Hall of Fame? I said because I don't know why, but the list would be crazy. Not just with football, but with all the athletes, track, basketball, tennis.
Yeah, that's right.
But Coach Smith looks at me. He says, "You know something? He calls his own plays." Coach Smith told me he lets him call the plays.
That's right.
And I asked Ahmad Hawkins about this, and Ahmad told me, "Yep, Ronald was audibly and changing the plays." And anyone that played for Hampton understands that Coach Smith just don't hand over the keys to the car.
No, sir.
So to me, you and I both know this, not just because we played, but we know how it works. When a coach trusts you that much, you can be some of the best athletes in the country, but if you don't have it here, you're not going to make it.
That's true.
Ronald had both.
That's
because he was extremely intelligent.
He was.
But anyway, my last one for you, because again, this is the name game here with Vicktory Life, Anthony Wardrett's Legacy Spotlight. Last one I want to give you, and then I got a couple of things I want to talk to you about. Eric Hunter, the late great Eric Hunter.
Yeah.
To me, he was the only kid that I just would just stare at. I just would look at him like, just when I saw him. He just, a 6'5" quarterback that had a linebacker's mentality, man.
True.
When I say his name, what comes to you? What do you think about?
I had his sister and I, we went to school together, Felicia, and I still see her from time to time. And, during the times that I would run into him, I know he was, kind of dealing with some things, mental things and stuff. And we would talk and, he would like, "Hey, what's up, Wardrett?" We would talk. But early on, before he even became what we knew today, I didn't know what was going to become of him. I didn't know because, he was tall, skinny kid. You just didn't know. And the minute he got out there, he was like, this guy's just a natural. He belongs here. He belongs on this level, And I think, how you got some guys like Ron and like Chuck, they're playing on a different level. Even though it's high school, they're playing on a different level. Eric Hunter was actually really playing probably on a collegiate level mentally.
Yes.
Even at a high school level. And I never forget one time, this was later on after he had left Purdue and, he was at home and, different things. And I ran into him at a laundromat. I was actually there. He was, kind of coming past and he stopped. He saw me. He looked. We talked. And I didn't know that he had actually, had a tryout with the Cleveland Browns. I didn't know that, And he told me, he said, "Yeah, Dre," he said, "Man, they told me, man, I was throwing the ball too hard." I was like, wow. You know, I said, well, you know what? I said, you kind of was showing that at the crab. You was throwing that rock. I mean, you was throwing it. And then he played basketball, you know, at Hampton. You know, so once again, you're looking at a guy, you know, and Eric didn't even play. He didn't even play defense in high school. You know, as far as the crowd, he just played quarterback, and that was normally, you know, you play both ways, you know, whatever.
Yep.
He just played quarterback, and you knew that that's exactly what he was. You know how some guys you say, oh well, you know, he could be a receiver, he could be tight. No, at Hampton High, you knew this guy needs to be a quarterback, and what he did at Purdue, we had already been seeing it on a high school level, you know, and you know he just had that. I just think he had that thing about him that, you know, he was a man amongst boys. He was, even on a high school level, he was a man amongst boys. You know, he was just light years ahead of everybody else. You know, he was. I mean, you saw it. You know, you saw it, man.
Hunter, man. You know, God bless him, man. He when I was playing basketball, my last couple of years for Coach Brower, Eric Hunter came back and he was an assistant coach. And I would just talk to him and look at him. And to me, man, I looked at him like a Greek god. I mean, because I saw him play in high school. I saw him lead Hampton High to a state championship in football and basketball. I seen him beat up Grant Hill up and down the court. And Grant Hill's a NBA Hall of Fame and one of the best NBA players of all time. But he was special. And you know what's crazy is, man, is that you know, it's unfortunate because he was the MVP of the Senior Bowl in 1990.
I remember.
And I don't know the inside stuff, but from everyone I talked to in the know, that he was going to get drafted because he was that good and how he showed out at Purdue in the Senior Bowl. But of course, they do those background checks, and you know, a lot of guys don't get picked because of different things from your past or things.
Of course.
But you know, shout out to Eric Hunt and his family, man. Phenomenal player, man.
Yes.
So Anthony, just a few more questions, man.
You fine. I love it.
I want to touch on something that's a little bit more serious, you know. And this was not part of my outline when I was going to interview you, but
that's fine.
I love how we love our area. I live in Northern Virginia, but I didn't even plan to come up here. But my girlfriend at the time, now my wife of 20 years, we met at Virginia Tech, and you know, I was back home. Me and AP were going to get an apartment together.
Okay.
But I couldn't get a job down there, so I ended up applying. You know, I'm in love and I'm about to get married, so I ended up moving up here.
Cool.
But I love where I'm from.
All right.
We were growing up on Shell Road in the 80s and 90s. You know, this is right around the time, you know, crack was getting ready to come. But even then, you had guys that hustled. You know, if you had beef with somebody, you fought, and the next day you went up to Quickies and you grabbed some, you know, a sandwich together.
Okay.
Over the last several years, you know, throughout the 757 and on the Peninsula and Hampton and Newport News, there's been a lot of changes. You know, that's it. That's going to happen everywhere.
Of course.
We are dealing with a different generation with social media, more access, more availability. But one of the things that's really affected our communities, especially in the 75 and Newport News and Hampton, is gun violence.
Yes.
We have gangs now. You work for the school system. You are around these kids. And I'm not going to label all these kids because I hated when I was a kid and they were like, oh, you kids, your generation. But it is different.
It is.
It is different. Just talk about the things that you've seen and what are some of the things that guys like you and JJ are trying to do to help these young men and women, because now, you know, you're a father, you're a leader in our community. That's why I have you on here. You're a mentor to me. Just talk about the things they're facing, what you guys, the challenges you have, and just the dangers now compared to what we have growing up. Because now, man, you know, my sister lives down there, my mom and dad. And every time I talk to my sister, by the way, her son, my 12-year-old nephew, shout out to Derek Fisher. He's going to be he's special.
Okay.
He plays for Northampton. And he's the quarterback, punt returner, but I'll let you know about him on a different format. But just the stuff you guys are dealing with, the challenges and what you guys are doing to address it in your capacity, you and JJ and guys like yourself.
Yeah. You know, I think as I always have mentioned, You know, I say this a lot, and I know you can probably identify this or with this. I don't think it's any separation anymore. Meaning, when I say separation, like right now, you know, a kid, you know, 8th grade, you know, 7th grade, you know, they got a cell phone just like you do. They can get information just as fast as you get it, or they may get the information that you don't get through TikTok or through the different platforms that kids create, you know. And when I first got hired in the system, you know, back in 2006, I never forget the principal during that time, Sue Edwards, who, you know, she used to teach at Hampton High. She was a principal at Jones. She said, you know, Wardrett, she said, believe it or not, she said, the community comes inside of the school. She said, whatever happens in the community, the kids bring it to school. They talk about it. It filters out through the whole building, you know. And, you know, today, you know, kids don't really have a separation. So sometimes some kids, and then too, you know, we gotta always say this. It starts at home first. If it's not being, you know, taught and refined at home, a kid, you know, has to somehow figure it out, you know, and different things. Where with you and I, you know, we had our mom and our dads there to refine how to stay on the right track, you know. And today, a lot of kids don't have that. A lot of kids don't have that somebody to keep them on that right track, because they got so many other platforms that are actually telling them or showing them, you know, a way. Whether it's good or not, they're showing them a certain way, you know. And you and I, we didn't have those platforms. We didn't have the YouTubes, the Instagrams, the Facebooks when we were in school. So we didn't have a lot of distractions. These kids have a lot of distractions. They have a lot of distractions, you know, and things. Now, at the end of the day, they're still kids, and they do show that. But it's easier for them to try things, experiment with things. It's easier for them to do it because of all of the influences, outside influences they have. You and I didn't have those outside influences. You know, we wouldn't think about a weapon. We wouldn't think about that, you know. At the most, believe it or not, when you myself and you, when we were in school, at the most, you know, maybe a person would bring, you know, maybe an alcohol beverage, maybe, you know, and they're sharing it with their homeboys, you know, at the baseball dugout or something, or they wait to after school, you know.
Yeah.
But kids today, you know, they have so many things available to them, you know, and they have it's so many different ways for them to get their hands on different things, you know, so easy, you know, because we have more, you know, like CVS's and Walgreens and different places where kids frequent and shop. You know, we didn't have all those, you know, we had Family Dollar maybe, you know, and Family Dollar didn't have a whole lot of stuff that you could get your hands on that, you know, or you wasn't thinking about certain things. But the world out here today for these kids, it's like a big candy store to them. You know, they can grab whatever, you know, whether it be, you know, alcohol, drugs, vapes, whatever, you know, and then you have the cyberbullying, and, you know, we didn't have cyberbullying. You know, I remember, you know, guys that would come to us, you know, they come back and say, hey man, you know, you remember y'all used to run me home every day, man. Y'all used to chase me home. They's like, man, when I went to basic training was nothing, man. Compared to what y'all used to do to me, that was nothing, man. I went to basic training easy. But the kids today, some of them can't handle that, you know, and you have to respect that, you know, that we look at it and we say, well, man, you know, what's wrong with these kids? But, you know, a lot of times when you're forced to be, it's like you and I, you know, growing up, if someone, you know, it came to you when you were at Hampton High and was trying to force you to be a dad, meaning not have kids, but somebody just dropped some kids off to you and said, look, you're going to raise these kids. You was probably looking around like, how in the world am I going to do this? You know, but we got kids that are living that right now. They're taking care of their siblings. You know, they're taking care of them because either mom's not there, dad's not there, or mom's working late at night. You know, so they have so many different things that are available, whether it's good or bad. And it's hard for them to try to balance and know which way to go, because they see their peers doing so many different things, and videos are promoting different things, and music, has definitely changed. When we think about the music that we come up on, it was refining us, telling us, hey, look, believe in yourself, or I'm this, I'm that, or this, that. The music day doesn't really refine the kids. It really just kind of, have the kids kind of like not really understanding things, still in the same, thing where, I'm not knocking anybody that raps today or whatever. I'm not, because, they're making a living. But I do believe that what we hear, what we see, as well as what we eat, has a major effect on us. It just does. Yeah, it just does.
Anthony, man, as I told you before, man, I'm honored to have you on.
Appreciate it.
I this just takes me back to like 88, 87, when, we used to be at your grandmother's house in the front yard, or, when you used to come out from the garage and just talk to us, man. We were shooting on the basket.
Yeah, man.
We used to make those homemade basketball goals, man.
Yes.
But at the same time, man, as we reflect on your journey, this is the part of the show where we wrap up, where I give my guests an opportunity to give their final thoughts from your perspective. You're still on your own life journey. You're still, even though you and I both are older, we're not done yet. And you still are in the community just like I am. We're both leaders in our communities. People respect you. You have a voice, and
Yes.
and that's because you use it. With that being said, on your Vicktory Life Legacy Spotlight, I want you to right now share with those watching, young and old alike, what playing sports, what so far being from Vaughn Avenue, all the things you've experienced, what feedback do you want to give people watching this to help them persevere and reach their goals, to make sure they don't give up on life because they've hit a rough patch? Because you've been through your fair share of challenges, but you've always kept pushing forward, never feeling sorry for yourself. Even as a barber,
That's right.
you always were dropping knowledge on whether it was Chuck, me, AP, whoever. Just share with people right now what life has taught you so far, and what feedback do you have to just keep pushing through to make sure you achieve your goals.
I speak with a lot of kids all the time, at the school, and as well as adults, because I know a lot of times, the kids have challenges, but we tend to forget that adults have challenges still too. They're dealing with some things too, and kids don't know that adults are dealing with things too. They're thinking, okay. But what I will say, I tell anybody, you got to believe in yourself first. You got to believe that you can do it. You got to be able to see it, and confess it with your tongue. People don't know the power in words. If you, I tell kids all the time, if you quit now, it's gonna be easy for you to do it later on. I never forget. I saw a kid. He played for Kickintan JV. He had his jersey, like up under his arm. And I said, "Hey man," I said, "Why you not wearing your jersey?" He said, "Man, you seen our record?" I said, "It doesn't matter." I said, "That can change." I said, "The record can change." I said, "Take pride, in wearing that." I said, because guys before you, they took pride in wearing their things, and when I look back on my time, growing up and different things like that, and where I am now, it's still a journey. It's still a journey. You still gotta pour in positive things. You have to every day, man. When you wake up in the morning, not that you're just able to wake up and stand up. Once you do that, the way you drink water, that's how you got to pour in that positive stuff. You got to just pour it into your system, man, because there's so many things that we could be upset about, right? Bills, whatever. We ain't got this, we ain't got that. There's so many things we could definitely be, down in the dumps about. But what good is that going to do? You still have to change that narrative and different things like that. So I'm constantly every day, just confessing different things. Just confessing different things, man, what I'm going to do and not, and you have to watch your words. You have to watch the words that you use, hoping, or I'm going to see, or I might, or, I'm going to try. A lot of those things, they seep into your system, man. And, I can be a big procrastinator. I can be. You know, I know I can be. And you have to fight those things too every day, man. You know, and my son, you know, he asked me one day, he said, Dad, he said, every time I ask you, you don't never have a bad day at work. I said, because I choose not to. I choose it. You know, I just choose it, man. I mean, you know, I know that sometimes, you know, life can't be roses every day. And that's, my wife will tell you that, you know, she asked me one day, she said, you know, is it your mission every day just have a good day? I said, yeah, it is. I just got to do it. I mean, you know, in spite of what we see out here in the communities and the world, what's going on, you know, I can fuss and, you know, whatever while I'm at home to myself. But when I walk out that door, I'm all smiles. I'm looking for that opportunity. I'm just looking for the betterment, and not just for myself, for you, for everybody. You know, I see the good in everybody. You know, you can be, you know, laying down, you know, on the street, cussing and fussing. I can say, well, look, you know, that dude used to be a terrible football player one time, you know. I mean, but, you know, I just say that, you know, with where I am right now, and I know everybody is not like me, but you know, I've seen it, I've lived it, where I've confessed something with my tongue and it actually happened, and it was a good thing, and it shocked me because at the time I didn't know, you know, that I was actually confessing it. I just didn't, you know, I just didn't know it, and you know that I do the art and different things like that, and I never forget. I went over to Down and Gross, and I was there for something. And I just happened to ask the girl about a solo art, you know, show or whatever. I just asked her about it. She said, yeah, you know, she said, you can have one here, different things. And I never forget leaving that building. I said, you know, I'm gonna have me a solo art show. I didn't know where it was gonna happen. I said, I'm gonna have a solo art show. I'm gonna do it, you know. And as time went on, I got a phone call. The young lady called me. She said, hey, you know, Mr. Wardrett, are you still, you know, interested in doing a solo art show? I was like, yeah. So she came into the actual room and she said, can you fill up this whole room? I said, yeah, I can do it. Didn't know if I could. But what did I say? I said, yes, I can do it. I just believed in myself, you know, in my abilities and different things like that. And it happened, man. You know, everything, once you believe in yourself and you confess it, you know, as I told you, when you said, well, how did you feel when you were out there finally at Hampton High? I wasn't starstruck because I felt like that's where I belong, because I had already confessed. I had already saw it. Newspaper clippings, I had already saw it. So whenever you lay things out in front of you, and you see it and you believe it, you know, it can happen, man. You know, if you can sit back and see yourself, I don't know where you see yourself, let's say in the next couple of years, but whatever you see, D, it can happen. Trust me, it'll scare you. It'll scare you to death. I know you've probably had some moments where you say, wow, I am somewhere that I would have never thought I would be. And I said that. So that's how things work sometimes. Things work that way, you know, a lot of times. But you got to start believing in yourself first.
True, man. It's so true. And wise words from a very, very wise man who I still appreciate the feedback you've given me throughout my life and also today in this Legacy Spotlight, man. This has been so much fun, man. This has been really, really remarkable, man. I hope those students you interact with appreciate this. I hope when we run this, they see this. So thank you, Anthony.
Yeah. Well, you know, I want to say something. I want to say something before you go. I want you guys to realize how much y'all meant to me, even though y'all were younger. Seeing you guys in that neighborhood, it was almost like adding fresh lawn care, fresh roses to the neighborhood. You, Dominique, Adrian, Eric McGraw, Ball, you know, JJ, you know, Pete, Rashad. All you guys, when I saw you guys, that let me know that the neighborhood was going in the right way. Yeah. You know, it was going the right way because they were good guys. Y'all were good guys, man. Y'all were like the little rascals during that time.
So the Sandlot or something. You know what I'm saying?
Sandlot, man.
That's what it was like.
When I saw y'all guys, I was like, wow, this is what's up. You know, I said I can leave and move to another neighborhood. They're gonna take care of this neighborhood. So y'all guys were big. Yeah,
I appreciate that, man. And everybody you mentioned, I still love, man. You know, it's crazy because we moved right after you told me I was gonna make varsity. All that time on Vaughn Avenue, my mom and dad, they upgraded and found a nicer house off West Queen Street over in Zay Gardens. And I remember ninth grade, I was over there, man. And every chance I got, I would walk or catch a ride back to Shell Road and be at Vaughn, man, or be at Milo's house or be over there, man. And my mom and dad kept saying, why you keep going over there? I said, because that's home. She said, this is your home. I said, man, I love it over there. It wasn't even about anything crazy or any drama. It was just, man,
Yeah.
those were every time I come home, those were great memories. I still to this day, I go when I come home for a basketball tournament at Boo Williams, or my oldest daughter had volleyball, or my youngest had a track meet. I always step away by myself, turn on certain songs, and I ride through. I
Yes.
ride through Park Place.
Yes.
I ride through Shell Road. I ride Vaughn,
Oh
Greenbrier.
yeah, man.
I stop in front of your grandma's house sometimes and just stare. Sometimes I get emotional.
Of
I just
course.
look because it is part of who I am. It is
Yeah.
why I am successful. And looking back, I'm like, man, I only had like two pair of shoes, a hoodie to last me through winter, but life was good, man. And this
It
has been
was.
good. This has been good, Anthony. Thank you so much for jumping on, ladies and gentlemen. This is Anthony Wardrett, man. Thank you so much, man. To all the fans and supporters of Victory Life, and for the new people that's viewing this, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Also, like us on Facebook to see other features and great interviews like this one of Anthony Wardrett's Legacy Spotlight. And like I say, every episode, no matter where you go, no matter what you do, make sure you have a positive impact and you leave a great legacy. Thank you so much to Anthony and his supporters, and thank you to Victory Life supporters. Have a good one.
Appreciate you, man.